It's no accident that sounds like you're leveling up in a video game. 48% of 18 to 29-year-olds have an online dating profile.
Make them work for it.
45% of people say they're more frustrated with this form of dating than hopeful.
There are so many people you can connect with.
Should I swipe right?
Swipe wrong. Swipe wrong. Setting the record straight on dating apps. Everyday people telling everyday stories of the swipe right world with your host, Koss.
Well, I know he had a good time.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and of course, good night. Welcome to the Swipe Wrong Podcast. I am that guy. You know me by now. I am Koss. I hope you guys are all doing amazing. We are the number one podcast amongst Team USA, the shows they listen to while they're asleep. Maybe not, probably not. Whatever. Either way, they should be. So, hope everybody's doing awesome. You enjoyed the dating cycle episode. I think a lot of people, from what we're hearing, are like, "Oh yeah, totally makes sense. Got it. I'm there with you." Let's do the housekeeping, shall we? So, like, follow, subscribe, be our best friend. We'll be your best friend. We're already your best friend, but you don't know it, so you can be our best friend. Let everybody know about the show. If you've got a story you want to share, if you want something that you want to talk to me about, 317-426-6616, or email us at swipewrongpod@gmail.com. The show's a good time. Like, every time I talk to somebody, it's the same thing. It's I love hearing what they have to say, and they usually end up laughing by the time that they're gone. The show is produced by Jay Pelham. He is the man behind the curtain, the great and powerful one who just does nothing but awesomeness to help the show be what it is. So the quality you hear is absolutely because of him. So this week, we're having a good time. It's actually just a great conversation with an amazing woman who has a great story and has some great insight. So I'm hoping that you guys will totally sit back and enjoy this one, as we got a few of them coming down the pipe, as we do every week. I don't know, I really enjoy talking to her. So without further ado, sit back, relax, put your feet up. Grab your popcorn, get it buttered. If you're in traffic, please do not hit that person next to you. And enjoy, we'll call this one, When Compliments Go Bad.
Disclaimer: the views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speaker and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions or any entities they represent. This podcast is about dating experiences. It is not to say one dating app is better or worse than another.
As a man, I know I'm wrong a lot, so I'll just start there and say, like, you kind of are on the apps, off the apps. Like, it seemed like over the past 6 months, you were doing the first date update, and then maybe there was a first date that led to like a 35th date or something. Is that what took you off the? Okay, cool.
I actually think that you and I recorded an episode when I had just matched with this gentleman, and we met last July, and then we dated. You know, we dated for about a year. We ended things in May. Yeah. And it was great. I mean, he's a great person, great human being. We just kind of realized that we had different life paths, you know?
Okay.
And the biggest lesson that I learned from this experience, and maybe this will help some listeners perhaps, but what I learned is that when it comes to dating and you're looking at somebody as a potential partner long-term, it's important to remember all of the parts of you and to really look at a choice and partnership as far as like who fits into all of it and not just the one side. So for us, it was a lot of like, we're going to hang out when I don't have my kids, and we're going to go on these awesome dates, and we're going to have so much fun, and we have chemistry, and it's great in this like isolation and silos. Right. But then I have this whole other world where I'm a mom and I have 3 kids, and, you know, and it wasn't that I was pushing to bring him into that. at all. I actually, in the beginning of things, I was very much against that anyway. But you reach a certain point and you think, you only know a piece of me. You don't know the whole Maggie.
Yep.
So, we had a conversation and we just agreed that we both cared about each other a lot. And we really enjoy our time together, and we're still friends. I mean, we still talk and sometimes see each other, but as far as where we're both at right now, it just doesn't make sense for us to continue on that way.
That's cool. So like, wait a second, you had like an adult conversation about this isn't working out and maintain friendship. What? Oh my gosh.
I know. And what's interesting about that is he really, I actually gave him a pat on the back. I said, you know what? You did a really good job. Like,
way to go, sport. Way to go.
No, you're dumping me, but I'm giving you a thumbs up. Like, because it wasn't like that. It's not like a rejection. Like he was saying, I don't like you. I don't choose you. It was more of just him being really honest about what he wants. Sorry, my dog.
Oh yeah. That's cool. It filters. I didn't even hear the dog, to be honest.
So
he knows you're talking to somebody else and needs your attention, just like your kids,
He does, yeah. But yeah, so he did the hard thing. And I know it was really difficult for him to be honest about that, because on one hand, I'm sure he didn't want to end this relationship because there were no problems. It's not like we fought. Right. We get along great, but he, I think, had enough respect for me to know that, hey, you deserve more than what I'm giving you and what I'm capable of giving you. And so we kind of parted ways. It was still really hard, but then I got, picked myself back up and resurrected the little first date updating and got back out.
Which is, it's funny. It's like they're enjoyable. I enjoy the first date updates. I'm sure as quite a few people do. Oh, you're welcome. But on the same side of it, you don't cheer for a whole bunch of first date updates. You're like, wait a second, we want her to find happiness too. So, it's like, it's like,
it's something I do just to make it a little bit more palpable, like I just really, I look forward to recording them. And again, for anybody who's listening and they're like, what is this? It's not a situation where it's not like are we dating the same guy Facebook group or anything like the men are never discussed in detail. Like nobody knows who I'm going out with. Nobody knows their name or anything. The only thing they may know is where I met them, whether it's Hinge or Bumble, and maybe, age range, but that's about it. It's really just about how I'm feeling. And it does. It brings me some joy to put the reels together and get some creativity out of it. And
you do a good job with them. Like I like you'll put the little icons above, the little emojis and stuff. And I'm like, oh, that was cute. That's cool. To what you were saying too about the breakup or just kind of the process of it. I want to say probably about 6 or 7 months ago, maybe even a little bit longer. Like I kind of discovered just through talking to people, it's kind of what you go, there's so many levels of figuring out if you're compatible with somebody. Like in the beginning, it's like, hey, we can have a good time together. All right. Do we fight the same? Is there sexual chemistry, which usually there is? But is there communication chemistry? Does he raise his kids the same way I want to see my kids, things. And you can't find that out until like maybe a year down the line.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It is crazy. And I actually had that realization even on a date that I had shortly after breaking up with this man. The issue of compatibility is huge. It's just, sure, chemistry is pretty much obvious right off the bat. Whether or not you're attracted to the person or if they're a good kisser, like that kind of thing. You figure that out pretty soon. Yep. And then connection, I mean, that kind of goes along with chemistry, right? Like, do I feel connected to this person? That also ties into communication. Like, how do we communicate with each other when we're not in person and even when we're in person? But then that issue of compatibility, it's like, I have 3 children. I dated somebody that briefly, just one date, but I think it was an issue of compatibility. He had never even wanted kids, but he ended up having one kind of by accident. And who knows, I'm sure 4 children in his future doesn't make sense for his life. And that's fine, but I have 3 kids, like that's not changing. And so for some people that might not be compatible, and that's okay. That doesn't mean there's anything wrong with me. It's just, that's not my person then,
Yeah. 100% the pursuit of happiness. I mean, like, it's like, all right, so, if it's different, at least you found out early. And even if you find out later, I don't know. It's so hard. Like some people are having such a hard time with just mutual respect and saying, hey, you know what, this isn't going to work out. Or
Mhm.
others it worked out, like, all right, good conversation. Still sounds like, good communication still, probably may even still hang out still,
Yeah. I
you
mean,
know?
sometimes, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, see you for the gym and stuff like that. So, but now, so I did an episode actually just last week. I don't know, like this one won't post for another couple weeks, I don't think, but just last week where we called it the dating cycle. Where you start out like the first cycle is eyes wide open, like sensory overload. The second one is where you kind of find your comfort zone, like, hey, I want to meet, for coffee and not cocktails, and here's the spaces I like to be in. And
Yep.
then the third one is more of I have uh, oh gosh, I'm totally blanking on it. I had it in my head, like I was over here on this side. I knew the next one. Matching efforts. Like the third one is, hey, like, does this person match my effort? All right, cool. All right, I want to make sure like that. And then the fourth one is where you can finally, like, I'm a big experiences over expectations, but the last cycle to me is now you can have expectations. And if
Mhm.
somewhere in this debts or this dating cycle stops, then you may go back to first, where you're back to sensory overload, because you go back through, a lot of people will go back through and have the lack of confidence again, the lack of self-esteem when you go through a breakup. So
Mhm.
it sounds like, though, in your case, you may not have exactly gone through that. You're just like, all right, now you're back to cruising as it was maybe before, feel good about things and feel good about you.
Yeah, I think that there's been a lot of work for myself done on
Yeah.
that. I used to take rejection and breakups and things of that nature really difficult in the beginning,
Hmm.
especially for a divorce. Oh my God, if any of your listeners are listening to this after a divorce, that is such the sensory overload of navigating the apps, understanding like being ghosted and how you take all of those things so personally in the beginning because you're kind of desperate for attention. You're just
Yeah.
desperate for that connection with someone, depending on how long you were married or whatever. And then, but it's all about practice. And that's kind of
Yep.
how I look at dating right now is it's every time somebody rejects me, I don't take it personally. It's not
Yeah.
necessarily always about personal rejection. It's redirection. It's thinking, okay, well, I'd rather know right away so that I can move forward. And I was with this guy for almost a year. So it took, I mean, I say I got right back out there and I kind of did, but I had to force myself. Like I really had to
Yeah.
push, in the first
Yeah.
couple of days back out there too, I don't even know what I was doing. I mean,
Sure.
they weren't
Sure.
really potentials for the future, but I knew that I needed to get myself out there. I knew just
Sure.
the act of taking a shower, putting on makeup, finding a cute outfit,
Yeah.
driving there, all of those things help you move forward. And I think a lot of us women, we struggle with those little things of just like
Right.
getting to the date. Once I get there, I'm usually fine. I'm like, okay, this is cool. But it's like the mental gymnastics you go through about like, okay, I just matched with somebody. Oh shit. Now I got to actually go,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it gets so much easier as you practice it.
So
So
in my head, I'm hearing you say this in your world, for what we were just talking about before I started recording, was it reminds me of like you're starting to work out a new muscle group,
yeah.
and you are just doing it. Like, I have to do a couple things to get the motion going and to get my
Yeah.
mind going. So you're getting
Yeah.
yourself dressed, you're putting on your makeup, and you're going out to just go sit across the table possibly from somebody. And that's like
Yeah.
your first 2 weeks of working out a new muscle group. And then
Mhm.
now you're, 3 months in and you're just
Yep.
flying through and feeling better about it.
Yep. It's no big deal. Now I know. I'm
Yeah.
like, and I think the other thing is the change for me in all of this is not putting so much pressure on the future and just really focusing on the one day in front of me. Okay.
Perfect.
We're
Yeah.
going, like,
Yeah.
I had a date just last week and it was great. It was a coffee date. And I didn't think about, is he my future husband? I didn't think about, am I going to see him
Perfect.
again? I literally thought about, okay, I'm going to meet somebody new. And my goal of that is to just learn something about him, like learn something that I didn't know before. What can he teach me that will make this an enjoyable experience, regardless of if I feel attracted to him? Like, I just want it to be worth my time.
Yeah.
And I think I've gotten better at selecting people to make sure that it is worth my time.
Yeah.
But of course, you always have those that slide through that.
Sure. So let me ask you that. You're getting better at selecting these people. What do you feel like you do something differently, or do you just is your bullshit radar just up higher, or what?
Bullshit radar is on. And did you know that on Hinge, you can block profiles that use specific keywords?
I
So
did not
for
know that.
example-
It's been a long time since I messed with Hinge.
So if you are someone swiping along and you see constantly a man who writes loves to cuddle, well, I block anyone that says cuddle in their profile because we
I
all
didn't know
know.
you could do that. Yeah,
Yeah.
you definitely know what
So, I mean,
yeah.
there's little tricks like that now that I'm more tuned into. Or like if they say figuring out my dating goals. Oh yeah, well, you can figure that out with somebody else because I know,
Yeah.
so we don't need to waste our time. I had one guy though that slipped through my my
Your
skills.
radar?
Yeah, he got right under it. And it was a disaster. It was probably
Really?
one of the worst dates I've ever been on.
Okay.
Hear-
All right. Yeah. Oh, of course. I mean, that's that. Yes. I mean, as much as I enjoy the conversation, this is the premise of the show. So I got to hear the dating story.
This was funny. So I picked a place near my house, which normally I don't do that, but he was a gentleman and said, I will come closer to you and make it easier for you. And I thought, well, that's nice. Okay. So there's just a few places where I live that are options. So I picked like one of two places. And of course I walk in, I see like 3 different people I know. So I instantly because I've never met this person before. I don't know what he looks like. I'm sitting outside of my car and I see this guy kind of walking back and forth in front of the restaurant. And I think, no, that can't be him. He doesn't look anything like the profile. Dude, I get in there, I sit down, I text him, I'm at the bar, I turn around, it's him.
Oh,
he looked
gosh.
at least 15 years older than what he looked online.
Wow.
At least.
Wow.
He looked tired. His eyes were bloodshot. He just didn't look healthy. Okay. But for me, one of my top values in life is health. Like it is. So we sit down, I order a drink. He orders a Coke. I said, oh, you're not gonna have a drink. He said, no, I'm sober. And I mean, again, good for him. Like I'm proud of you doing that. But that would have been also helpful to know, at least put it in your profile or tell me, because then now I feel like a real asshole sitting there drinking in front of you, like I literally sat down. The first thing I did is I was like, I'll take a double, because I was just so blown away by the confusion and didn't match. The picture didn't match the profile.
Right.
So we're sitting there and we order food to eat and he starts looking under the table, like pulling one of these, like looks down underneath the table at my legs. And just start the compliments. Oh, I really like your shoes. I love your feet. I love those jeans. And it was just so awkward. I'm sitting there holding my fork. He said, you have really nice forearms. I like how you're holding your fork. It was so weird. So I chug my drink and we finish our meal. And he says to me, so you want to go hang out? And I said, hang out where? Where do you want to go hang out? And I'm thinking, you don't want to go to a bar. You don't want to go get a drink. You're like, we're not getting coffee. It's 8:30 at night. Like what? Right. And he's, well, I mean, I was just thinking maybe you want to go like cuddle. He actually said cuddle.
Oh, shoot.
And I was like, no, I don't want to go hang out or cuddle with you. What about this date gave you any idea that I would be interested in that? So I awkwardly gave him a hug and just tapped him on the back. And he continued to balance on, those cement blocks that the car pulls up into in the parking spot. Mm. He's tightrope walking on that while he's talking to me and saying okay, well, I think that we should go hang out, but I guess you're not really feeling it. And I literally just got in my car and drove off.
Wow.
It was
good for you.
So bizarre. So
good
bizarre.
For you. That is the epitome of crazy. Two, even if you were into him, and let's just say you were into a guy, we'll take him out of it because it's probably, I don't want to PTSD you. And a guy says, do you want to go cuddle? Isn't that almost an instant wait a second, I was into you, but now you just said cuddle? No, I have no, that, no, right? Or am I crazy at that?
No. I mean, if that happens after a first date or any date, there's usually things that happen before that would
Right.
give the person an inclination that this person's into me.
Yes.
She wants to make out. Like, I didn't even touch him,
Right.
prior to this, and nor did we discuss that. But yeah, the compliments were just creepy. It was weird. I mean, I've never had a forearm compliment before. I mean, I never need another one.
I don't mean to laugh so much, but I'm like, that's just crazy to me. Oh, your forearms, they're so nice. Your feet, you're just like going, dude, are you from Dexter? What is happening right now? I'm a little freaked out by you.
I know.
Oh
Thank
my
you didn't
God.
tell him I lived nearby. I was nervous he was going to follow me home.
Oh God.
So, yeah, that was not good.
That was shortly after getting back on, or
Yeah. Very much right after. I mean, maybe a few weeks after.
Did you just kind of sit there and go, man, what am I in for?
Yeah, I did. I had to really kind of, just tell myself it's just one date. The other way I've started to look at it is the law of averages. So 1 in 10,
Sure.
And it pretty much goes for almost anything in life. 1 out of 10, you're going to get a yes. So I am not looking at it as 1 out of 10 people that I date will be a great long-term relationship, but 1 out of 10 dates, I will have at least one good one. So that's just what I started kind of keeping track of. Like, I started taking notice of how many first dates I'm going on. And I had 9 first dates before I had a good first date.
No shit. That's what I was gonna ask. If you actually did you have 9 bad first dates? 9 bad ones. No kidding.
Yeah. And they weren't all bad. They just weren't my people. Some dates were actually really nice. I had a handful of really nice conversations and good, restaurant experiences, but just not somebody that I wanted to have a second date with.
So if we're gonna rate it, so I won't rate it bad, good, and great. So would I rate it bad, average, and good? You want to go to that?
Average.
Okay. You had how many bad and average dates did you have to the one good date? Like, was it like 3 bad? I know. To put an arbitrary number on it, I'm sorry, but just I hope they all weren't 9 bad. I guess that's where I'm going with it.
I really think it was just the one that was.
Okay.
Bad.
So
the
probably 8 average ones.
8 average.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was just an issue of maybe, I wasn't physically attracted to them, or, conversation was tough, or, just no chemistry, no connection.
No vibe. Sure.
Or no laughter. I mean, I'm a big,
I
want to laugh,
really? Yeah.
Like, that's important. Or at least not even if you don't need to be a comedian, but lightheartedness is really important. It doesn't need to be so serious. I mean, I get that we're kind of on an interview, but it doesn't, you don't have to feel so serious,
Yeah. Yeah. Like 2 things I think are very important. One, like as the side that knows they're always wrong. Don't take yourself seriously, right? You just can't. Like, you laugh at yourself. Like, I just complimented your feet. That was the dumbest thing. I would have made a joke out of that. Like, first of all, I wouldn't have said it, but if I did, I'd be like, well, that was creepy. My bad. But and then 2, like, you've got to don't forget everything that's being said, but pick up on the body language. That's like the most important, right?
Yes.
Like,
100%.
Arms crossed, leaning back in the chair, not into you. Like, leaning forward a little bit. Like, it's just like, do you think guys are pretty good about that, or pretty bad about body language?
Pretty bad. Pretty bad. Either that, or there was a date that I went on just the other day, and we walked up and he shook my hand. And I thought that was kind of off-putting. Like, I literally got close to him, and he stuck his hand straight out in front of me, almost as a way to like block me. And you know what? I hugged him. I was like,
there you go.
I was like, I'm a hugger.
Yeah.
So
bring it in.
It was super uncomfortable, but I'm not shaking your hand. I don't know.
Yeah.
It just feels weird. I know not everybody is that way. Some people are really standoffish about it, but the other thing is, like, if we're going on a date, I like to sit next to my person,
Sure. Okay.
And I think some sort of touching is important. I mean, I don't want your hand all over my body, but like a little touch on the shoulder or the knee or something, like some sort of touch, I think is healthy if you're feeling each other,
Yes, absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
Now, if you're, creepy feet guy, like, you can sit all the way over there. I don't need any touching from you, None.
15 years older, roughly. He looked that. So definitely had pictures on from back when like the two towers were still up and shit. Is
Oh,
that what
yeah.
you're saying?
Oh yeah. I noticed so much that, I know men like to give women crap for their filters.
Sure.
Fair, but men are notorious for using pictures that are at least 10 plus years old. And I just don't understand that, because at least if a woman uses a filter and just like smooths out her skin a little bit, you're gonna recognize her. You know what I
Sure.
mean?
Yeah,
Hopefully.
for sure.
I know there's some
For sure.
like crazy Snapchat filters that'll change your entire face, but
Sure.
I mean, and then there was this other guy that I matched with just last weekend, and it ended just as fast as it started. He had one photo of himself, which looked like a pretty decent photo. Every other photo, so Hinge, I think, gives you 6 opportunities.
Okay.
And I look at my Hinge profile as kind of my resume, like
Sure.
this is one chance to kind of put out there for people to get a sense of who you are. So I like to try to, I do a video, I put something for my Instagram, my friends, a picture of my face, a full body picture, what I'm into, my hobbies. Like I take a lot of pride in that. This guy had pictures of like sushi, a picture of him underwater, a picture of his dog, a picture of an airplane, and then one photo of himself. I had no idea what this human looked like. And he was wearing sunglasses and a hat.
So you had no idea.
So I said to him, I said, hey, what's up with the lack of photos? I said, I'd really like to see more of what you look like. And he said, well, we can connect on Instagram if you're comfortable with it. I have more stuff there. So I said, usually I don't give out my Instagram right away.
Right.
I said, okay, fine. Because I know I can always block and remove too.
Sure.
So
Sure.
it's the end of the world. So I did that, and I go on his Instagram, same shit, like same his pictures of things. Nowhere is he found. So I just unmatched him and deleted him off the app and Instagram and everything. But I find that to be very strange. And that happens more than, I just see that a lot from the men.
Just trying, almost an avoidance of what they look like, or avoidance of just anything.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. And I've also started putting in there just how important it is that I match with somebody that's physically fit or healthy.
Sure.
Because a lot of people will say, oh, I'm active, but then every picture they have is of them holding a beer or a cigar or something. I'm like, oh, no.
Your version of active. Look, I've seen your workouts. Your version of active and picking up the remote are two entirely different things. Like I got off the couch to get the remote. I was very active today. That was it.
Yeah. But look, I'm not saying and I think I said this before to you. For me, I just want somebody who has a thing. It doesn't have to be my thing.
Sure.
It have to be bodybuilding or weightlifting.
Sure.
Like maybe you like to golf. Maybe you like to cycle. I don't know. Just have something that keeps you active and moving, because our bodies are going to shut down at some point,
There's no doubt about that. Like we're not getting younger,
No.
every day. So the only way to beat time is exactly what you're doing. It's working out. It's eating good. It's just getting the heart beating. Like I run 6 days a week and I hate it. Running sucks. I'm horrible at it. It's like, I feel like what I should do is go to the gym and punch the biggest guy in the room's like dog or something, like something they care about. So they chase me and I'll be motivated to run that way. And like, oh, here we go. Now I'll run. But I hate it. Yeah. But I have to do it because my heart needs it. And all of a sudden
do it afterwards, right? Like after you're done.
Yes, absolutely. I'm so happy I did it. And like tomorrow, I'll do 6 miles tomorrow, and I'll be putting on my shorts going, I hate this. It's so stupid. I can't believe it. It's 95 degrees out with 80% humidity. I smell like ass, and I'm definitely not going to hit on anybody at this particular time when I'm coming back. But it's the best thing. It's one of the best expressions The Rock has is on his shirts is rents due. And like that is the rent we owe ourselves. Like I owe myself that rent.
Yep.
So,
show it for yourself. Yeah.
And then when I'm back, I just, I'll struggle to pick up the remote, but at least I put in the effort, right?
But at least you did it. You
right,
did
exactly. Yeah. So it'll be 6 to 10 miles, and then all of a sudden it'll be like, I need chocolate chip cookies. So being back in the dating world, you've had the good ones. You've been on the first date update, which like I mentioned, I enjoy. Like, do you feel like you say 1 out of 10? Like, do you like that one good date worth going through all the madness?
Yeah, I think so. I think it
Yeah.
is. Even though in this case, the one good date that I had didn't really go anywhere after.
Okay.
Um, but when I look at it from a perspective of, did I enjoy myself? Was I attracted to this person? Did I have
Yeah.
chemistry with this person? Did I laugh a lot? Yes. This was the one I was mentioning. I just think it came down to compatibility, that maybe we were just not in the right place for each other. Um, and I respect the hell out of him for saying it like kind of right away, instead of doing kind of what the other guy did and dated me for 10 months, knowing that
Right.
he probably didn't ever see it going anywhere.
Right.
So I still consider it a good date because it was a good dating experience,
There
all
you go.
around.
There you go.
Because it does get kind of grueling. I mean, you get, at least for me, and I think you could tell this by watching, every time I get on there and do an update, I'm positive about it. I'm
Always.
not complaining. I'm grateful for the opportunity. I know there's a lot of women that go on these apps and they struggle just to make a match, let
Yeah.
alone get a date. And so I look at dating kind of like getting pregnant. It's like all of these things have to happen perfectly.
Sure.
Do you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? It's like you
Yeah.
got to find each other somewhat attractive online, and then he's got to find you attractive online. Then you've got to match. Then you've got to have at least enough in
Yeah.
common to have a conversation, and one person not ghost. And so it's like, if you would to finally get to the actual date, you're like, whoo, we made it,
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the chances of that date actually going well,
Right.
that's a whole other thing. So from that perspective, I would say that one date was worth the 9 or 8
Okay.
were
Yeah.
average,
Yeah.
and one.
Yeah.
Um,
That makes sense. You are always positive. That's what I think. And like I say to so many people, like I love your take about when somebody asks what happens in your last relationship or whatever, and how you still stay positive about that because you're don't want to set the expectation of what you'll tolerate. I've like I
yes,
that stuck with me. Like it's like that is for whatever reason, people will ask, "Hey, so you do the show. What do you think about like dating tips?" That is one of the tips I will give. Like, don't talk
yes,
about the bad shit because that's what you put up with. That's so
yeah.
great. Like your perspective is awesome.
Don't ever. And I've also learned that too, early on in the dating, and it's always a question that comes up. I was asked this even just last week on my first date. So how is it going for you? How are the apps going? Like, I don't want to talk about
Sure.
that.
Yep.
I don't want to tell you about all the bad dates I've been on, or like,
Yep.
like, sure, we have that in common. We're both doing the obvious thing here, but like, I don't want to discuss that. And then I certainly don't want to discuss, what happened with my ex-husband either. So I've learned that that's a little bit more tricky when you have alcohol, involved. Get a
That's
little bit
fair.
more loose with the lips. You know what I mean? So what's that saying? Loose lips or something? I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah. It's
it
exactly
is
what it is.
true. It's true.
Yeah.
You can kind of control yourself a little bit and go and say, Maggie, I don't care how many vodka tonics you have. If you cannot talk about, the thing, the
Is
big
that
thing.
is that when you turn around and just say, "Can we talk about politics instead?" It'll be politics
But
and religion. Let's talk politics and religion instead of
yeah,
exes.
I
Yeah.
would rather talk about abortion or
Yeah. Yeah.
Trump, at any day than what happened in my failed marriage. My God,
There's
that's a
my voodoo topic.
surefire way to end the
Yeah.
date.
Yeah. Talk about
Yeah.
that for sure. Totally.
Yeah.
But you're right though. Like as soon as the alcohol comes out, and one, you're probably a little bit more comfortable. You're enjoying yourself a little bit more. You're vibing a little bit more. And you're like, well, maybe I can, but
Well, and you think to
I'm with
yourself,
you.
well, we can connect over this. Like maybe he has a
Yeah.
traumatic story too. Maybe I can share mine. It's like that we don't need a trauma bond on a first
Yeah.
date,
Yes.
And I'm not saying that I don't share it eventually. Like my ex knows all about what happened, but he had to
Yeah.
kind of earn that.
Yeah.
And I'm not comfortable because sometimes even myself, when I listen to myself telling my story, I think, what the hell was wrong with me?
Mm.
And it's a fair question, but I
Yeah.
think also we as humans, we have to give ourselves grace and remember that we are allowed to grow and evolve,
Mhm.
and our past doesn't define our future. And so it's all lessons. Like we have so much to learn.
Yeah.
So always learning. So
Yeah.
but not
Yeah.
everybody thinks that way, you know?
No, but and if you think about it too, from the perspective of like when you are talking with people, a lot of people will gravitate towards the negative. They'll gravitate towards the like you want to say the positive things because that's how your perspective is. But when they hear the positive things, they don't always know what to do with it.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
true.
they're gonna you hear the negative, like there goes back to the, we'll bust out on those saying that misery loves company. I mean, they're
Mhm.
be like, oh yeah, I remember this one time at band camp when I did this, or something
Yes.
like that. So
Yeah.
and there's
Yeah.
the identifiable piece and trauma
Mhm.
bond. I think it's a good way of putting it.
Yeah. And I try really hard not to judge people either when if they do tell me stuff, because I've had that happen also recently. I went out with a guy, I don't know, a month or so ago, and we're sitting there, first date, just within the first hour of being there, and he starts telling me about how he picked up and moved to Florida because he just didn't like the winters here, but he has a 10-year-old son that lives here.
Oh
And
wow.
he ended up meeting somebody that he matched with on Hinge after a month and moved in with her and her kids. And I'm sitting there thinking, my eyes were probably like,
Yeah.
you know, and I'm trying so hard not to judge. I'm like, Maggie, don't judge, don't judge. You don't live in his life. But then you also have to learn to listen kind of for red flags. So I
Sure.
recognize that can go both ways, right? So
Right.
I don't think that my past is a red flag because I've dealt with it and I've learned from it. But there are
Sure.
certain things that I hear on dates that I think, like, that's not really
Yeah.
cool. What does that say about your character?
Right. Right. But
And
that's your interview process too. Like when
yeah,
you hear that stuff, you're like, oh, I don't want to hire this dude.
nope, he doesn't get
Yeah.
the, no,
Yeah. He's gone.
no,
He's gone. He's
he's,
gone.
he's
Yeah.
not going to round two.
Yeah.
No.
He is on unemployment for a
Yeah.
reason. Oh my
For life.
gosh.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
So how is the first date update? We'll go back to that. So you enjoy it, you're having a good time with it. What's the feedback you're getting from it, other than from me?
I have met some of the most amazing women through that.
Yeah.
I have made a whole slew of new friends, and I really think even it's a pretty small page. I mean, I don't actively try to grow it necessarily. Every once in a while, I'll connect with people and I'll share it with them if I know that they're
Uh,
going through a similar situation or they're out there dating. Um, but the feedback I get is great. I have a couple friends who tell me they're like, I live for this. It's like reality TV. Like, can you please go
right.
on more dates?
Can you please go on more dates?
They are. They're like, we need more dates, Maggie. And I'm like, no, I'm just taking a little break. Because for me, I do get dating fatigue for
Sure.
sure. Like, I'll go through spurts. Oh, get down. I go through
Oh,
spurts,
he's so cute.
I know. Where I really hit it hard. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna match, or like I know I have a kid-free weekend coming up. I will be more intentional about, like, there are some weeks where I had Monday, Tuesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday booked with
Right.
all dates.
Nice.
But it gets exhausting. I know that my fans love it, but
It's
but
beautiful.
it does take its toll. So I kind of ebb and flow with it. Right now I'm kind of in a down spurt, I guess, with
Sure.
it.
Yeah.
Um, and that's okay. And I don't record every date either. It's been interesting. I've met a few people in the wild, and for some reason, I don't know what it is, but the people that I've met in the wild, I have not made a recording on. I
Oh,
don't
that's
know.
interesting.
It's like the ones that I meet on apps get the videos. I don't really know
Sure.
why. Just
Huh.
kind of, I don't know.
It's your
It's a weird.
process, maybe.
It's my
Your
process. Yeah.
process is serious. Met him on the apps now. All right. And in your mind,
Yeah.
it's like it's what you're used to doing. Meet him in the
Yeah.
wild, you're like, yeah, it's just not part of their normal routine.
Yeah. I
That'd be
just
my
go
guess.
yep.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I
Probably because
love
the other thing is too, like, sometimes when I meet somebody in the wild, like, you don't actually have as much information about them as you
that's fair.
do on an app. And so I have a little bit more to talk about. Like I said, I don't talk necessarily details about the men, but I'll say things like, oh, well, I know that he's a dad, or I know that he's in finance, or I know that, that's pretty much as in depth I get with it. But I don't know. I guess I've just never been like, oh yeah, I met this guy at a pool party and now we're going on a date. I guess I could do that, but it's been fun. And like I said, I've made some friends through it. I've reconnected with the old friends that are now going through a divorce that kind of reach out, and there's the women on there are so supportive. Like, I'll get
Yeah.
so many DMs like, good luck, girl. Like, you look
That's
great. Like, can't wait to
awesome.
hear. So it just builds me up. And when I do come home, and 9 times out of 10, I do have a crappy date and I talk about it, And then they're right there to kind of say, like, at least you tried,
Yeah, that's so great. That is
Yeah.
so great for the aspect of like social media is built around trolls, and when you're getting the positive support, that's
Yeah.
amazing. Like
Yeah.
I never felt like I made it until people are starting to send me, the hate mail, which I seem to thrive on. So I'm glad you are not getting that because this is good. Like I love to hear that. I
Well,
love the positivity.
I think part of that though is that the page is private. And so
Oh,
I
sure. Okay.
control who comes in. I'm sure there would be some trolls if it was a public open page, but
Yeah.
I try to only approve people that I know or people that have been like sent and somebody says, oh, this person's going to start following you. I'm open to approving people I don't know as long as they're a real person and not some like,
Right.
fake person. But yeah, I mean, it's been a great experience and I'm excited to keep it going this summer.
Totally. Like, so is it just on Insta?
Yeah, it's just on
Okay.
Instagram.
All right. You
Yeah.
should drop a YouTube channel.
I should.
You
That's
should.
that's a
Yeah.
great.
Like it just like you can take the same thing that you film on YouTube and drop it into Insta or vice versa. And it's more people I feel like are actually watching through YouTube than almost anything else, it seems like anymore. It's where
Okay.
this gets the most love.
Yeah.
It seems like it's most love on YouTube. But and you don't have to make multiple videos, so you can just download and
Right. Just
transfer it
reshare the
over.
things that you
Yeah.
got. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm
you're
gonna
good.
do that.
Yeah. Yeah, you'll be
Good
good.
idea.
You're
Yeah.
awesome.
I have
You're amazing.
a month left of the summer, month, maybe 6 weeks, and I'm gonna, I haven't met anybody that I'm exclusively dating at all.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I'm gonna just keep going. I think that's kind of been the thing too. It's like I get to pick, like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
choose. It's fun. It's fun to meet people. It's fun to have new experiences. So I'm gonna keep it going.
Well, you're in control. Like that's so I when I started the show, like I remember I'm like, okay, like I'm like people shouldn't know that they're the only ones attracting the crazy. But I also felt like at the same time when I was going out with people, I'm like, I felt like people just needed to know, like, hey, there's not assholes out there. You're not going to date a bunch of jerks every time. And like sometimes I felt like I was dating not even for the purpose of finding somebody. It was like, let's just go have a good time, and that way you'll just
Yeah.
know there's not a bunch of jerks. And I
Right.
swear I would venture to guess that with your outlook, when you go out and you find these people, they're probably doing the same thing from the male. Like they're like, wow, there are like thinking the same thing when they run into you. There are some really
Yeah.
awesome people out there. So just know that you are instilling that too. Like as much as you're looking for something, I mean,
Yeah.
unless they have a picture from 15 years ago, then they don't deserve to know that.
Yeah, there's been a lot. But I honestly do have to, and I want to end this on a positive, is that the majority of people that I have matched, especially this summer, have been really nice people, honestly. Like
There
just
you go.
not a romantic match for me,
Sure.
but really good people, good parents, people with their heads on straight, just like therapy friendly. Like
Love it.
I'm blown away by how many men have been pretty open about just feelings and connecting with themselves, and it's a really nice thing to see. And I appreciate a lot of that, and I appreciate all the guys that I've gone out with.
I love to hear that. I love to
Yeah.
hear like the candor about it as opposed to the guarded about themselves. Like I don't
Yeah.
know. I think there's a lot of humility when they do that, and I think that's humility should be in vogue for sure.
Yeah. I agree. I
Yeah,
agree.
girl, you're amazing. We'll do it again, but thank you for taking the
Yes.
time for
Thanks
sure.
for having me on. It's been a lot of fun as always.
Yeah, I love talking to you for sure. Thank you for being along for the ride on the Swipe Wrong podcast. The show is produced by Jay Pelham. You want to reach out to us? We want to hear your story. 317-426-6616. Make sure to text, leave a voicemail. We'll get back to you. Shoot us an email at swipewrongpod@gmail.com. We are on Facebook, Insta, Twitter, YouTube. We are definitely out there. I am the host of the show. My name is Chaos. And please make sure to take a listen to us next week because the saga, it continues.